A dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. It had a perfectly round door like a porthole, painted green with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened onto a tube-shaped hall like a tunnel, a very comfortable tunnel, without smoke, with paneled walls and floors, tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs and lots of pegs for hats and coats. The hobbit was fond of visitors. The tunnel wound on and on, going fairly, but not quite straight into the side of the hill. The hill, as all the people for many miles around called it, and many little round doors opened out of it. First on one side and then on another. No going upstairs for the hobbit. Bedrooms, bathrooms, cellars, pantries, lots of these. Wardrobes, he had whole entire rooms devoted to the clothes. Kitchens, dining rooms, all were on the same floor, and indeed on the same passage. The best rooms were all on the left-hand side, going in, for these were the only ones to have windows. Deep set round windows looking over his garden and meadows beyond, sloping down to the river. This hobbit was a very well-to-do hobbit, and his name was Baggins. The Bagginses had lived in the neighborhood of the hill for time out of mind, and people considered them very respectable, not only because most of them were rich, but also because they never had any adventures or did anything unexpected. You could tell what a Baggins would say on any question without the bother of asking him. This is a story of how Baggins had an adventure and found himself doing insane things altogether unexpected. This is an excerpt from the book The Hobbit by renowned author, writer, and poet John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, or as many of us know him, J.R.R. Tolkien. My whole life I've grown up reading and loving the tales of Middle-earth, beginning when my dad used to read aloud The Hobbit to us before we went to bed. While I learned much about the characters and events in The Lord of the Rings, I realized that I did not ever know much about the actual author himself. In this speech, I'd like to commemorate the life and achievements of this great author. He was born on January 3rd of 1982 in South Africa, but moved to Birmingham, England at a very young age. His father died of rheumatic fever before leaving South Africa, leaving his mother to care for and school him and his brother. Ronald, as those he was close to called him, began to read at the age of 4 and could write soon afterwards. He also had a strong interest in languages. His mother taught him Latin, and after learning this base language, he began to experiment with creating his own languages, a skill which he later used in his life in the creation of Elvish and other language for his Legends of Middle-earth. At the age of 12, Ronald's mother died, leaving him and his brother to live with a close family friend, with whose help he attended Exeter College in Oxford, graduating with first-class honors in English language and literature. On March 22nd of 1916, he married his wife of 55 years, Edith Mary Bratt, with whom he had 4 children. He also served as a lieutenant in the First World War, where unfortunately many of his friends and writing companions were killed. Tolkien, however, survived the war and became a professor of English and literature at Merton College in Oxford, where he began to write stories of adventure and fantasy. One such story was about the immortal Luthien, who forsook her immortality for the love of a warrior called Beren. This story was based upon how Tolkien saw his relationship with him and his wife. In his final years, Tolkien was honorarily appointed a commander of the Order of the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth II. In the same year, he also received an honorary doctorate of letters, which is a doctorate that's higher level than a PhD, but it's usually given to commemorate someone's lifetime achievement. He received this from Oxford. On September the 2nd of 1973, he died at the age of 81, nearly 2 years after his wife. On his tombstone, under his and Edith's names, are inscribed the names Luthien and Beren, for whom he had written many stories. In conclusion, J.R.R. Tolkien was and still is a classic author, often known as the father of fantasy and adventure stories. What is often unrealized is that many of his stories were not purely made up, but based off of the very fantastic and adventurous life which he himself was blessed to live.